Mega Man 2,
Castlevania 3.
Ninja Gaiden 2.
Do these classic NES platformers hold up? Let's find out. Hello everyone, I'm Alex.
I'm Andy. It's been a long day.
You new here?
I'm Andy.
For the first episode of Do These Games Hold Up, title pending because I want to think of something better, we're going to be looking at 3 classic NES action platformers and just talking about if they hold up. The way the series is going to work is we're going to rate each one on a scale of 0 to 3 stars. 0 being this game doesn't hold up at all. 3 being you can play this game pretty much like a modern game. 1 and 2 obviously just being the steps in between. If a game gets a combined score of 5 or higher, it means it definitely holds up. If it gets a score of 4, it's on the fence. Any lower than that, it's not a game that holds up. Let's get right into it, starting with
Mega Man 2.
Right.
You've gone on the record as never having played a Mega Man game. You rectified it. Well, a traditional mainline Mega Man game.
I've played like 8 hours of Mega Man Battle Network 3.
Right.
That game holds up. It's decided.
Never played that game.
It's okay.
So you're fresh off your first foray into a traditional Mega Man.
Yeah.
Mega Man 2, right?
Yes.
All right. Did you Google what boss order to
I
do?
did, and
Nice.
Google told me to start with an ice level.
With an ice level.
So that's going to really inform.
That's kind of usually a theme with some of the Mega Mans.
It's messed up. I don't ever want to play an ice level unless it's Loco Roco.
I always do Airman first for some reason.
It told me to do Flashman first.
Okay.
Which I beat him. And yeah, I guess that is major points to Mega Man is that the first level I had to play of this game was an ice level, and I actually beat it. I'm kind of at war with like how platforming feels in a lot of these older games, so the fact that I did it on an ice level and beat the level, that speaks to the quality of Mega Man 2, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's one of the greatest games of all time. I probably say that about every many games that I talk about here, but it is my favorite Mega Man. I think it is the best mainline Mega Man. I don't think that's controversial. I think a lot of people think either Mega Man 2 or Mega Man 3 are the best, and for good reason. All the robot bosses, whatever, I can't remember their names, are really, like, this is like peak, like, they're not really reaching too far into the hat here. They're really, like, creating some really good designs, like character designs, but also, like, what they do, the weapons you get, how those work against other robot masters is really cool. I think that this game is 100% replayable. I get a lot of enjoyment just going through the robot masters and fighting them. The Wily levels, I do think the difficulty spikes in those, and if you're not like versed in how to get through them, it is kind of tricky.
The player agency aspect of Mega Man has always been somewhat cool and somewhat confusing to me because it does feel like there are right and wrong ways to go through the game. You know, it'd be nice, I guess, if maybe they were sectioned off a little bit more just so you know where to go and you don't waste your time. But that being said, it is a super cool idea and it's really not anything any other game has done. Like, even to this day, that's not a play style.
Yeah, 8-bit NES days, they had this concept that really hasn't been explored or iterated on too much. Just boot up the game and you had 8 different options of levels. I mean, really what you're talking about from like a programming standpoint is a hub world, and the password system was also really intuitive and easy to use at a time when you couldn't say that about every game.
Yeah,
or even save a game. You couldn't even save your game in many games. So
yeah, and I think obviously the aspect of you get a new power up with each of the, I think they're robot masters, is super cool because obviously it changes how you would move through future levels, and yeah, like you said, it makes Mega Man super replayable. Mega Man 2 was definitely pretty fun to go back to.
Awesome. And now you can say you played. You can't.
I can't say I've never played a Mega Man game. No. Yeah. No, I probably will go back like after we're done here and play a bit more of it because it was fun. What if Mega Man's name instead was Ronald Reagan and he was his famous catchphrase could be, "We do not capitulate with Dr. Wily."
I would still play that game.
Okay.
That was probably a missed opportunity that Capcom didn't do that.
Yeah, there's no game called Ronald Reagan, and that's messed up. But let's get to the ratings. Andy, what do you give Mega Man 2?
Easily a 3.
I am also going to give Mega Man 2 a 3. Like I said, I played through an ice level, and the physics didn't annoy me too much. So the fact that I could do that, I think, really speaks highly of the physics in this game. That is a little bit odd.
Is Flashman actually an ice level?
You're sliding around. I don't know. Maybe it's like glass or something.
I see. Yeah.
I assumed it was like Flash Freeze or something. Was
maybe
what they were going for there. Next game, we're gonna do Castlevania 3.
One of my favorite games of all time.
I guess compared to Mega Man, I don't vibe with this game as much. I mean, every time I've ever tried to play a Castlevania game, I just wish he like walked a little faster. Yeah. It feels like you're truly walking through these levels.
Yeah, you really, I think both with Mega Man and Castlevania, but I think they're both platforming games where you kind of have to get into the rhythm of the character's movement. And I definitely think Mega Man moves at a much more forgiving and faster playable rate. That's a game with also like Mega Man with the password system. You are actually able to, make pretty good progress in that game. Or I was able to make progress back in the day. I couldn't beat it back in the day, but I've since beaten it. Save scumming. The mood of Castlevania really sells it, but also Castlevania 3 has these other characters. Did you get to any of the other characters or no? Fail. Castlevania 3 was really kind of revolutionary in that it was one of the first games where you could like switch between other characters. The different characters have different move sets.
I'm curious about the more Metroidvania-y Castlevanias. During the NES, they kind of were just like action platformers. Pretty straightforward affair. I don't know. I just cannot get Castlevania to stick with me. Like, obviously the vibes are cool. I feel like Ghosts and Goblins kind of did it better, to be honest. It's a little more of a enticing world to me. Also, I don't know, like the sprite work in Castlevania 3, I wasn't loving it. It's a little muddy. The sprites just don't pop as much. Like, like Mega Man obviously has a very defined shape, and Castlevania is trying to depict like a muscly dude in like 8-bit super zoomed out, and it kind of, the sprites just kind of lose a little bit of character because of that.
Yeah, they kind of lean heavy into this kind of like 8-bit NES orange color for a lot, like the orange and pink is like the two contrasting tones. I think the soundtrack to Castlevania 3 is really phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Mega Man 2 also, which we didn't mention. But the soundtrack and the mood and the bosses, for me, really make that game. And also the other characters you can play as. But yeah, you should definitely play Symphony of the Night, Aria of Sorrow, I think are the two. Those are my two favorite Metroidvania ones.
I've played a little bit of Aria of Sorrow, and from what I've played of that, it felt less slow to me also. Like, it just felt a little more like dynamic in how you move and stuff, which obviously it's like it came out like 10 years later. So.
Yeah, and when they get to the point where you can actually jump off the stairs and they figured out how to like go upstairs.
I hate every single time I've ever played a Castlevania game, I have to like take a minute to remember that you have to press up like on the bottom of the stairs to walk up the stairs.
Yeah, it's
it's a weird system.
It is not great.
But yeah, okay, so with all that said, what would you rate Castlevania?
I still have to give it a 3 because Castlevania 3 is one of my favorite games of all time.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to give it a 1. I think the vibes are pretty cool. The music's obviously amazing, and Castlevania has some pretty cool ideas, but the moment-to-moment gameplay of Castlevania to me, especially these older ones, have always been just a little too slow to really capture my interest. So overall, Castlevania gets a 4. We're on the fence if it holds up. Let us know down in the comments what you think.
And because you gave it a 1, that literally means that you hate retro games, right?
It does, and I destroy them when I stomp them into the
dirt. That's what you did after you finished playing the game today. You took the digital copy of it and
I smashed it.
You drove a stake through your Switch.
And even the copy of Mega Man that I borrowed from the store and liked, I destroyed that too, just because I don't want anyone playing these games.
Yeah, no one should ever play these games ever again.
So our final game, Ninja Gaiden 2.
This is one of my favorite games of all time. I think this game is much more difficult than the other two. The Ninja Gaiden series in general, I think, is kind of more difficult. Like, just there's some really unforgiving moments. I mean, there's some in Castlevania 3. Actually, of the 3 games, I think Mega Man 2 has the least moments where there's like just cheap shit happening to you on the screen that you can't avoid.
Yeah.
Castlevania 3 definitely has those moments with like the Medusa heads, or you're on the stairs, or you just make a wrong input and you just get hit by something, or you fall and you die, whatever. But Ninja Gaiden 2 has more of those than any of the ones. There's especially early on in the early levels, like there's levels where there's like wind mechanics birds that come down that are just like insane, and you can get caught in these like loops where you're just like bouncing off one enemy into another enemy until all of your health just goes down. So to me, I think that is actually bad gameplay or bad game design. You could argue, as many have, that you just got to get good, and a lot of us did that back in the day because we didn't have anything else to do. But I think Ninja Gaiden 2, for me, what sells it is the opening sequence is phenomenal. It's the fact that they made this game that had a cinematic feel to it in the 8-bit era with what they were working with the NES is just crazy. Like, you feel like you're in a movie. You feel incredible depth with all the characters and the world, even though you're getting like 2-sentence like cutscenes. Like, I don't know. It's just I love this game, and I love the music and the cinematic elements of it. You should go back and play the first Ninja Gaiden if you haven't, because the fact that you can't jump off the walls in the first one and then you can in the second one makes this game seem way more manageable.
Yeah, no, that was definitely like an oversight in the controls in the first Ninja Gaiden. I mean, they were inventing games back then, so they didn't figure that out. But I guess the way I would put it is, obviously, like, Castlevania 3 is not a super easy game, but it's not as hard as Ninja Gaiden 2. But if it was, I think I would cry and I would like actually stomp it. I genuinely might pulverize that game. like you said, the fact that Ninja Gaiden 2 is so cool and cinematic and exciting, you know, obviously you move through these levels a lot faster than Castlevania or even like Mega Man. Like, you're kind of supposed to just sprint. You don't want to stick around in one spot for too long because enemies spawn forever. Yeah, I don't know. Despite this game being a lot more like cheap and unfair than Mega Man or even Castlevania, I've also gotten farther in this game than either of those games, and I want to play it at least more than I want to play Castlevania in the current moment. Like how you can jump off the walls and stuff. I think the movement in Ninja Gaiden, even though they didn't get it perfect in the first game, has always clearly been like a big focus. It's supposed to feel like quick and nimble. You're really supposed to feel like a ninja, and I think these games do a great job of that, as frustrating and unfair as they can be.
Yeah, I think in terms of like kind of what we're talking about, is like, are these games still playable? Do they hold up? This is a game you should save scum your way through it. If you're not good, that's totally fine to do that. And honestly, one of my favorite games of all time, Celeste, each like little section you get to, you keep replaying it until you beat it, and then you get to start there again. And if you save scum your way through a Ninja Gaiden game, it's almost the exact same effect, because the way the game is designed, you go through a section, and if you die, if you save scummed it, then you just go back to that save state, and you can just keep doing it, and you can actually get better as you go through these sequences. And the levels are kind of designed in a way to go through them kind of systematically in these little sequences that are really brilliantly put together, even though there are kind of some cheap enemy placements.
You also touched on like the opening cinematic. I think Ninja Gaiden 2 was like one of the earlier games I got for my NES, and it was kind of like this like light bulb moment of like, hey, these old games are pretty damn cool. The intro cinematic is so sick. They like animated lightning like flashing, and like it makes a noise on beat with the song. It's like a part of it. And I don't know if this is controversial, but I feel like Ninja Gaiden 2 out of all these games has the best music. Some of the songs in Ninja Gaiden are just so exciting. Like, there are mornings where I listen to that to get myself ready to stop laughing at
they
it.
all three have really good soundtracks. Ninja Gaiden 2 was one of the first game soundtracks that really made me think about music in video games and chiptunes and whatnot. So I want to agree with you, but I know like Mega Man 2 has some pretty amazing, like there's some really great bands. Obviously, if you're into retro games, you probably know about all the bands. But I feel like Mega Man has a greater following of people who have made covers of all the music in Mega Man games. And I think there's fertile ground for different types of music, like versions of music, playing those songs. I can't fault what you're saying. Ninja Gaiden soundtrack's awesome. It was the first game I ever had like a box copy of. Like I rented a lot of games as a kid, and or I bought like used games, or even games at garage sales or the flea market or whatever, even back when they were out. Ninja Gaiden 2 was the first game I like saved up my money and bought. So I have a lot of feels for that game. And also when I got a Game Genie, that was the first game I put in and played all the way through to the end. It's a game that has a lot of nostalgia for me.
What would you give it?
3. Easy.
I feel like you can't be trusted. You're not a reliable narrator.
Oh,
here.
these are like, I mean, it's not like we picked like Castlevania 3, Yoshi's Cookie, and then like, I don't know,
Yoshi's
Little
Cookie's a
Nicky or Kid Nicky or Adventure Island. Like,
we did pick like the best games.
Yeah, these are like the three of the best games on the NES.
A 3?
Yeah, these are all replayable games, and if you haven't ever played them, you should play them like you did today.
Okay, well, I'm gonna give Ninja Gaiden a 2 against my better judgment. It means it does hold up perfectly, I guess. I'm not going to give it a 1. I like it too much to give it a 1. I don't know. I feel weird about it getting a 5 for holding up. But sure, I guess that it's our show, and we decide these things. Yeah. So, yeah, let us know. What do you guys think about these games? What ratings would you give them on our patented 0 to 3 star scale that then combines to become a 6-star scale that rolls off the tongue? Yeah, let us know.
Which you should definitely use to make your decisions about what games to play.
Yes.
If you're not using our scale, then I don't know.
Yeah, why are you even here? Why do you even like retro games? But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe if you like the video. We're making tons of exciting content. We're always trying new stuff. Join our Patreon. We do written reviews there, as well as extra content from these videos we record together. And yeah, have a good day. It's time for the Patreon only segment. What should the theme be for the next one of these? Because I feel like these are all like